Hello and welcome to the Devil May Cry Netflix Spoilercast and Review. I'm your host, Dan Video Games, and with me is Bob.
Not smoking sexy style.
Dr. Aggro.
Jackpot.
And Chris Wolfhart.
Welcome back, DMC Devil May Cry.
And that's right, this time we've gathered to review the 8 episodes, 4 hours worth of Devil May Cry animation made by Netflix. If you've never listened to one of these spoiler casts and reviews before, we here at GigaBoots have reviewed Castlevania Netflix Nocturne, Cyberpunk 2077 Edgerunners, Dragon's Dogma Netflix, Halo Paramount Season 1, The Wade Show, starring Knuckles, Monster Hunter Legends of the Guild, it's a Netflix show, Onimusha the Netflix, Resident Evil Netflix, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, parentheses, a Netflix original, Secret Level, Sonic Prime, and Twisted Metal Peacock. So we've been through it before. We know what the actual scale on which these things exists is. And frankly, if you haven't watched every show I've listed, you don't deserve to review Devil May Cry Netflix.
Oh, jeez.
If you don't join me at the bottom of the cave from which there is no escape, you don't deserve to look at the cave.
You don't get to hang out at the mouth.
Are we gatekeeping Platonism now?
Anyways, we're very well nuanced in this, but the structure of the show, to getting the pedigree out of the way, structure of the show, we're going to give it a score each of 1 to 10 at the very end. At the beginning, all you're going to get from us is a 2-sentence summary of how we feel about it, followed by a guttural sound that lets you know how each of us feels. And then we'll start getting into details like bringing up specific things we enjoyed, specific ways it succeeds or fails compared to these other things, thoughts we had while watching it, and a bunch of other random things. And then at the end, you get that delicious 1 to 10 score from each of us, which actually it's 0 to 10 now that I remember. And that's a maximum possible 40 points, much like a Famitsu thing. But unlike Famitsu, we've gotten 0 paychecks.
Yet.
With, goals, right? Anyway, let's get to it. A couple sentences and a guttural sound. I'm going to start with Dr. Aggro.
When I was a child, I had a dream of not making an animated series based on Devil May Cry. So you know what I did? I didn't take a job to do that.
Chris Wolfhart.
DMC the Netflix is an adaptation of Devil May Cry made by an extremely dumb guy who likes Devil May Cry. If you're not extremely dumb, it probably won't land.
Bob Video Games.
It's like Devil May Cry 3, but they surgically removed all emotion. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
That was a very eloquent guttural sound.
It was.
I could almost hear the sentence through the sound you made. That's crazy. I will be brief. This isn't even close to the worst thing we've watched.
No.
However,
Not even fucking close.
it is very impressive what they do get wrong. And with that out of the way, let's get to it. Number one thing I hated calling, and I really mean this, which is amazing because there are a number of things I called. Some things I called that just barely didn't happen. For example, when we have the airplane skydiving scene, we did not start blaring, "Can you take it all away?" Which I was like, it has to, right? After everything else that's happened. But the number one thing I hated calling was that so much money was in the first 2 episodes compared to the rest of it.
Yeah, man. The budget completely dropped off. I think it was episode 3 they introduced the main villains for the show for the rest of it, which were all CG and looked terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, that is an element of this I did not anticipate, where we have 3D models for, 4 different demons?
Yeah, they're all just from old Devil May Cry games.
Because we have the plant lady from 4. We've got the sort of Sparta-like.
Agni and Rudra.
Yeah, we've got that's a really weird Agni and Rudra, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Here's my first nitpick, of which there will be several.
Buckle up.
Lazy and stupid to give them heads.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that when we watched it too.
Like, you failed the assignment. Oh, but it's hard to have them turn up the sword and react from the sword. Then don't put them in.
Yeah, that's the entire point of the character design. Completely failed that. And then they added they used that creature from 5, which the entire point of him in 5 is he's just the shell that's been put on Trish.
Yeah.
He has no character himself. They just chose something that had a design they kind of liked, even though it also implies something about the demon world and also Moondis that just simply isn't in this.
Yeah, the thing is they needed a sword guy for Dante to fight with.
Yup.
And they couldn't use Virgil because they had to surf Dracula Virgil.
Of course.
And they couldn't use Nero Angelo because Nello Angelo is Virgil. Boy, would I have been mad if they had done that. And they couldn't use like any, and I presume they didn't steal anything from 4 because those are like robots and not.
Well, they stole the plant lady.
Yeah, but the plant lady's just a demon. She's not one of the mechanical order robots.
I mean, sure, yeah. It would have been really funny though if they did that, and it'd be like,
that would have been really funny,
sir.
I assume that'll be in the next season when they set up the. First of all, spoilers. I saw the clips of the Iraqi invasion of hell before watching it. In no world would I have imagined that was the end of the show, the end of the season.
Meanwhile, Blue Sky was kind enough to show me the "I Am the Storm" clip, which is literally the last frame of the show. Thank you, Blue Sky. You're all lovely.
Yeah, people are really bad at spoilers for the show. It's kind of crazy.
It's amazing because they were clapping too, and I'm like, this is why Surf Draculas happen.
Yeah.
Because you'll clap. Like it's gonna keep happening as long as it works. So
it's so frustrating. It's just like, make a season of the show. I don't need to be sold a second season.
Bob, they did. Then they split it into 2, so they can only pay for 1, market it as 2 seasons, then cancel the show regardless of how well it does. Which, by the way, seems to be what happened to Castlevania Nocturne.
I wouldn't doubt that that's what happens because they've done it multiple times, all across the industry. In this case, at least, that would explain how insanely long we've been waiting.
Yeah, I know. If there was another
7 years,
if there were another 7 years before season 2, it's like, guys, what's happening?
Well, not only that, Kevin Conroy's
a major character.
Yeah.
He died over 2 years ago. So, which means this had to have been completely recorded, probably 2.5 at least.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to be unceremoniously killed at the end of the season, but I guess that they didn't.
No, I'm sure that the whole next season is probably recorded, if not mostly done.
Man. I don't know. I wouldn't make bets on that, just because of this specific thing and how production seemed not exactly smooth on it. Also, the pivot to, also, don't worry, the bad guy from Devil May Cry 2 is here, and I'm like, that's perfect! That's the bad guy you deserve!
I mean, they need him to invade hell to steal its oil.
Right.
Like, that's so fucking, like, it's so embarrassing how just from this last episode, I can tell how the rest of, how the second season's gonna go. It's like, we're gonna get a lot of bad Iraq War allegory. Virgil's gonna be kind of an anti-hero who works for Mundus, who will be revealed in episode 6 of season 2 to actually be evil, and then in the season 3 that will never happen, they will actually fight Mundus.
Man, I love streaming shows. It's great. Anyways, I'm just gonna say right now, this is why I prefer movies. This is, if you're making a thing, please just make a movie. I'm so tired of this drawing out a very thin storyline for way too long.
Yeah, it feels like the first few chunks of these streaming shows had enough material. Maybe. Now that I think about it, I take it back, because now that I remember watching the first Netflix Marvel shows, I'm like, you could have cut 4 episodes out of both of these.
And that's how
this would have been better.
The entire pantheon of streaming shows has been.
Yeah. It's been a very terrible experiment, it feels like. I'll have you know, this isn't like I'm watching through X-Files, and say what you will about the quality of X-Files, but none of it feels in the same way. Like, television back then did not feel as these streaming shows do.
Yeah, because they didn't need to have this overarching plot. That wasn't the main focus.
They'll like do a series ending thing, and then like a season ender and a season opener, and that'll be a little bit fancier, but by and large, it isn't. This entire show was just to prop up some things for the next season. Like, It didn't feel like that. But we should talk about the actual thing instead of the symptoms of the medium it's a part of.
I've seen a lot of people say some variant of Adi Shankar doesn't like Devil May Cry. He's irony poisoned. This is all he's arrogant and hates it and is trying to fix it. And like, no. My take from this is that Adi Shankar thinks Devil May Cry 3 whips ass because it has violence and heavy metal music, and then every time there was a cutscene, he zoned out.
Yeah.
Unless it was the Wahoo Wacky Pizza using a motorcycle as a weapon cutscene. Like, every cutscene that had melodrama or character, like, points, he just turned off, like his brain shut down.
Mm-hmm. I had before my brain caught up with the timeline, I had my phone up to Google if there was an Image comic in the 90s based on Devil May Cry that this is a very faithful adaptation of.
I think there was, but it was much different.
Yeah, there's a actual American comic book, I don't know if it's Image Comics, of the original Devil May Cry that's pretty faithful to the original Devil May Cry, but because it's an American comic book,
Dreamwave.
He only uses his guns. His guns annihilate everything.
That's really funny.
That's
incredibly funny.
I mean, you know, Adi Shankar, I assume, is in the same boat of Tamim Antoniades, of people who really enjoyed Devil May Cry, but perhaps didn't fully get it.
I wouldn't even put Tamim in that boat, frankly.
Oh, I would put Tamim in that boat because I'm sure at some level Tamim's like, it's really cool until he's gay. Like, that is how Tamim probably enjoyed Devil May Cry back in the day based on the GDC panel or whatever.
Right.
About DMC, the DMC.
And also, most of them were like, it's those anime parts. I don't like those.
Yeah. I hate that.
You mean melodrama and character writing? Yes.
I hate that you said it in a tone that made me think of those teenage girls. They're going to steal my spider. Oh, those anime parts. They're going to ruin my adaptation.
If nothing else, at least Dante mostly feels Dante-like and not like Adi Shankar writing himself to be Dante.
Right. This is much closer than Tamim's outing.
Right. That's the only redeeming part of the series to me. They seem to understand, Dante shouldn't just be a crazy guy who kills everybody or anything weird like that. They made him feel Dante-esque, which is more than you can say about basically anyone else they put in the show.
He feels Dante-esque. I really don't. I think the element of, like, he's completely unaware of his own heritage is really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The point of I'm sorry, but here's where I have to be, like, you can tell a video game adaptation maybe isn't great when you start seeing a certain phrase pop up a lot in online discourse about it. The good old, you weren't playing this for the story. But Dante's character is not... First of all, Dante's character is not an anime thing. Like, he's not an anime archetype. American media has his archetype. He is a guy who feigns goofy wahoo pizza man bullshit to keep people at a distance.
He has what you call a devil may care attitude.
Yeah, he has this, but it's also to a degree an act because he has this. He's like, yeah, demons are always fucking trying to kill me. I can't really hang out with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need to keep people at arm's length for their sake as well. Like, that's the character of the Flash. Like, it's not some only anime thing, but the element of him not knowing anything about his heritage kind of completely strips out that character, which is what I mean about the... Adi Shankar just zoned out anytime characters were talking in Devil May Cry 3. Like, he's played that game 10 times and zoned out every single time.
To speak in more specific, concrete terms about what I feel about this series, there are no good character moments, not one. There might be a funny moment with Dante. There might be something where they were faithful to something at some point. But it largely doesn't have character development or arcs that are satisfying. And then in the middle, it becomes the raid, but doesn't want to follow through on that. And then it becomes a flashback backstory episode to develop Lady's backstory in this universe and the White Rabbit's backstory. And I found that episode loathsome in a certain way because it also did not land for me or feel like it was going to build to anything.
So a couple points on that sixth episode. Fuck you, put your flashbacks actually in your show. I shouldn't boot into the flashback episode and have these flashbacks completely unmoored from the rest of the show.
Well, this is like a little bit of a streaming show trope for a little bit higher rent streaming shows. Like, I don't think any of the ones I mentioned there. Well, actually, technically, this would be the equivalent of the Knuckles show doing that play.
Oh, yeah.
That was his backstory. That's a streaming show trope where you're 2/3 through the series, you spend a decent amount of money and do the different art style thing to tell the somber episode. So
that's fine. That's not what I mean. I mean, it's like unmoored from the rest of the show. A character isn't reflecting on their past. They aren't telling a story. Nobody's like getting new information. It feels impossible to really draw in, like it. You can't draw anything about these characters really from these backstories, because it's like, well, here's their backstory. It's like, well, you couldn't integrate it in any way into the show.
Because and this is what I'm telling you, they couldn't, because they had to do that trope.
They still could have.
No, they have to separate
they could have
it like
even made
oil
it the
and
White
water.
Rabbit
They
dreaming.
have to make this be the episode that does. And the weirdest part is at the very end, they break the rule of not talking. They're like, well, it's now the modern art style, and they're talking. And I'm like, well, what was the point of this? It just...
Yeah,
it's a halfway measure. I find it agitating. But no, you're correct. It would have been a little bit better if it was just integrated properly instead of this large episode focusing on this incredibly thin idea that doesn't hold up 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah, it upset me so much that they just played these two backstories next to each other. They actually are not related in any way.
I had to watch that episode twice because I'm like, surely there's some point where like the two knew each other before Lady did a war crime, right?
No, it's parallels.
Like they had run.
It's meant to be thematically parallel. That these are the circumstances in which these two kids grew up.
Right, but that's not interesting in itself. That's just something that's there, and it's kind of lame. And when you know Lady's actual backstory, this new one they made up just sucks.
Yeah, she got murdered in this show.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing everyone agrees on, is that Lady's been fucking murdered.
Yeah, so they just made her cop lady.
They made her fucking, hey, Adi Shankar, moron. Hey, idiot. You can't draw the clearest, least subtle allegory in the world to these demon refugees are Middle Eastern refugees. You cannot fucking do the least subtle allegory in the world and that, have Lady gun a bunch of them down and be like, well, she learned. It's like, what the fuck do you mean she learned? What do you mean she grew from doing fucking Wounded Knee? Like, you can't bring the character back from that.
No, it turns out that's not her fault.
Yeah, you can't, like, no, you can't do that. Diversity win. Adi Shankar makes Lady a member of the IDF. Like, she's a remorseful Nazi, so it's fine. Like, fucking come on. It's 2025. This shit was poorly aged when you wrote it in 2018.
I think this is a product of them and when they wanted to place it for the sake of being like, oh, Devil May Cry is this sort of style, and we're going to make that a pseudo period piece via music and other things, so we're going to place it then. And then they're like, well, what's going on there? The war in the Middle East. Oh, perfect. This will be great. You know what's like demons? Don't finish that sentence, sir.
Yeah, and it's like, once again, like, and this is, Adi Shankar has, let us say, bare minimum, confused politics. I don't think you can be like, the invasion of Iraq is bad, but Saddam clearly was evil and needed to be taken out. I'm like, am I good? Are we back in Mass Effect? Is it 2008 again?
We're wrapping around. Yeah, no, that's, they accomplished the goal of putting us in Mass Effect, yes.
Like, Adi Shankar, were you going for 2007 Democrat moderate? Like, he's like, well, the war in Iraq didn't go right, but the problem was that it was mismanaged.
Right? Like they're having the these are our ideology shouting match, and she's like, yes, you are in an impossible situation unfairly, and we are actively involved in creating that situation, but your methods are objectionable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, are we done? Was that the whole bit? Oh,
It
no.
was. That was the whole bit.
Adi Shankar, did you not notice how, like, in the past 2 years, that very specific framing, like, wore off? Like, it wore off on America as a whole.
Here's
Like
the problem.
it stopped working.
A lot of this was made more than 2 years ago.
I know that's the fucking kicker, isn't it? That even it was recorded longer than that. It was like trapped in a can, but the can had a hole in it so it could still rot.
The longer we go, the more confused I am. Why was Lady the head of the Image Comics Enforcement Squad? What the fuck was the point of that gaggle of random designs?
I really fucking assumed that part of her backstory was going to be, and the White Rabbit even goads her about it, kind of, but then it's not actually in that flashback, to my recollection, where it's like, yeah, Darkcom, the evil anti, the streaming show Cyber Police, which is in every fucking streaming show now, they they were working with her father and caused all this, and then we're like, ooh, we can fucking pick up this orphan and make her a soldier. But then that wasn't in there.
Yeah, I was convinced for most of the series, like, okay, they're doing their own thing with Arkham, and that sucks, but they're going to have the role of Arkham played by the vice president. He's going to be like a father figure to her. And then we find out, no, she joined that organization when she was fully grown adult. Like, they show her in the Devil May Cry 5 outfit joining up, and it's like, what is this? Why did you write this?
Yeah, they just kind of they needed to have a badass girl who shoots gun and does racism, so it had to be Lady, because it couldn't be Trish. She wasn't, like, they're going to save her for season 3, which won't be made because it's a Netflix show. So instead, it's just like, okay, Lady, you have nothing. We need cool girl shoot gun, go, with the demon bullets that never actually do anything in the entire fucking show.
No, they randomly just work insanely well.
Yeah.
Like, they honestly made them way too OP, and it's really dumb.
Yeah, it killed the plant lady in one shot.
It killed the Agni Rudra, one of the two, in one shot.
That's true.
After Dante fought them for, like, episodes.
It's just sometimes they don't go in.
Killed the final boss in one shot. It's like, they're stupid. They're so dumb.
Yeah, it's real, like, and this is another thing where I'm not sure if it's just Adi Shankar is a man-child, which is a strong possibility, or if it's him wanting this early aughts, almost period piece type thing, where it's like, yeah, the amulet is a quantum computer.
Yeah, they just felt like they needed to explain everything way too scientifically.
Demons are an offspring of humanity who fell into this other plane and adapted. Excuse me, sir. Do you know how evolution works? Do you realize that if you suddenly crank the temperature 50 degrees, nothing's going to adapt. It's just going to die. Evolution is thousands of very small changes over a really long time period. Not, well, we dropped 100 humans into hell and some of them adapt. And like, no, they didn't. That's not how that works.
Well, they did it quantumly.
Thank you, Aggro.
They were unclear on how long it was or how bad hell was, I guess, because they were before one dimension. So whatever.
And, yeah, like, so Sparta sealed it 2,000 years ago, and I'm like, so I feel like that also kind of ticked me off, because there's an angle with that specifically where it's like, yeah, why do you think that magic fell out of culture? It literally got locked off. But then they have to write all this pseudoscience shit. And it's like, are the big monster demons like evolved from humans, or is it just the peasant demons that are bipedal and look mostly human?
Well, I mean, Sparta only separates the two realms after there's already a demon army that's obviously super giant monsters.
Yeah, but they talk about how, well, demons, or what we think are demons, are actually an evolutionary branch of humanity. Like, did that dimension have its own life already?
Yeah, it was just existed for so long. It's like the Mario Brothers movie.
I take offense to that, actually. Weirdly enough, I'm here to take offense to that comparison.
Hang on, let him cook.
Although that was about the dinosaurs evolving to high enough life forms to look human. So just think about it like that.
I would really prefer I watched a show where Dante and Lady ride around in a weird electric go-kart.
Absolutely.
And that zany soundtrack is blaring.
And like, I get it. It's very cool that you referenced fucking Darkstalkers. But are you aware that Makai is just a term used in lots of media for Demon World, and that it's very
that's
stupid for that to be the official name.
I don't even take it as a Darkstalkers reference, just because that's such a basic way to refer to that shows up.
It's
in so many things.
Why do they refer to it as Makai? Why do the demons do it? Do the demons know fucking Japanese?
Maybe.
This shit happens all the time. I'm not going to sweat that.
It's not. I have to just point out because it's so. If you want to do we explain everything. The amulet's a quantum computer. Here's the actual origin of demons. We have to strip away any type of supernatural element to this at all, and make it a fucking like a Blade-esque science story. Then I'm gonna call shit like that out. You set yourself up for it. Like if you want to jerk off your own world building, I'm gonna point out the holes in it.
So that didn't land for you. Did the cool Raccoon City job reference or the Mega Man bobblehead land for you? Were you clapping at those?
No, not really.
I thought the Raccoon City joke was cute.
That was cute.
Because of the connection of those two games, I thought that was cute. The immediate cut to the Mega Man bobblehead, space it out, guys.
We have to get them all in right now. I'm very busy.
That was very bizarre to just back to back.
It's not just me. Lady's rocket launcher was like half the size it's supposed to be, right?
Oh, yeah, that was way too small. And only on screen for what? A scene?
Yeah, and she doesn't get the kill shot with it. And I don't know why he hates that bazooka so much.
I mean, to be brutally honest, she probably shouldn't have the bazooka that's named after her mother and is too big for her, representing a fucking burden she's carrying. Considering that element of her story was pretty much completely ripped out.
God, yeah, no, like the design and equipment she has is cool and interesting and has nothing to do with Lady. Like this whole show, if you had no interest in making an adaptation of Devil May Cry, then you shouldn't have.
Well, he did. He just, like I said, he wanted to make a thing with Dante doing Wahoo Pizza, and he zoned out during the cutscene, so he wrote his own.
It's kind of bizarre then to me that this both doesn't really deliver on the atmosphere of Devil May Cry, any of them, very well.
Mm-hmm.
It mostly lands a Dante-like figure, but not one other character very well. So you end up with this bizarre moment where I go, I should have watched the Devil May Cry anime again.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of do want to watch it again because it's probably worse than this, but only in certain ways.
Yeah,
it's terrible and better in various ways you wouldn't expect.
Right.
Like, I feel like if you, like, and again, I hate this argument, but I myself am going to make it. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think it's bullshit to be like, well, if you've used this thing in a vacuum, it's like, doing an adaptation means consciously getting a higher profile in exchange for not being able to be viewed in a vacuum. That's the fucking decision you made.
Mm-hmm.
You made the conscious calculation that we will be judged against this existing thing in exchange for its profile, like its heightened visibility.
Yeah, they even directly inspired it by 3, so you're being directly compared to that one.
Yeah, you consciously made this association. But if you somehow want to view it completely in a vacuum, like it's kind of fine. It didn't exhaust me the way most of these streaming shows we've watched exhausted me. It wasn't irredeemably stupid constantly. It kind of had moments occasionally.
Yeah, like we can agree this isn't as bad as the Monster Hunter Netflix.
No.
Yeah, no.
In fact, this might be the best Capcom Netflix thing.
I think that's right, yeah.
Because that Dragon's Dogma thing is rancid. That's terrible.
That's terrible. Onimusha's kind of mid. I like this more than Castlevania Nocturne. I don't think I like it more than the seasons of the original that I liked, seasons 1 and 4. I think I liked those more.
Yeah, it's amazing because there's less aggravating material with this, in my opinion, than a lot of those other shows. There's a lot fewer mental thorns in my brain at the end of crawling through this. And some parts look rather good, but it also, the exact way they landed the setting and how part of it is the raid for a moment, and then we just sort of drop that a little bit, makes it not have its own real connection to the game in a way that makes it feel more fungible. It's very strange in that manner because it literally just it's set in a modern city. There's an Army Corps police energy to it.
Mm-hmm.
We built out these characters, which we brought this up a while ago. I've been trying to get a word in to explain this. The reason we needed the police squad is because we can't just murder Devil May Cry characters for impact. We can't do that. So we have to
there's not
invent
that many.
this squad. However, they do eventually murk Enzo.
Yeah, that's messed up. I think Enzo is my favorite character in this.
Enzo's from the books.
Yeah, that bugged me. He's pretty good.
So it's hilarious that it's like he is a Devil May Cry character, but he's just enough.
Yeah, you don't
outside
notice.
of real that they could kill him.
They maybe they'll do the Smallville thing, and in the next season they'll be like, here's his brother. I'm also named Enzo, and I look like Enzo from Bayonetta.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah, get actual Joe Pesci to come in and record him.
Wait,
that'd be really funny, actually.
Okay, so they did the DDR reference with Dante dancing on a DDR pad that was simply made wrong, and I will not point out how I'm above that.
Okay.
That's beneath me. I will not fill this podcast with me pointing out that the arrows are turned the wrong way on the dance pad.
Look, Dan,
I will not do
the
that.
dance pad's licensed. They can't do that.
So, presumably that was possible because he had done things with Konami. They probably checked it to be like, is this cool? Is it okay? But he hasn't done anything Sega yet. So we need Adi Shankar to do a Sega adaptation so we can get Bayonetta Enzo in for the next season.
Of course.
So, okay, everyone. What Sega IP are you going to hand to Adi Shankar?
Well, sadly, for all of us, even him, because I think if he actually gets this one made, it'll break the spell and his career will instantly end. Adi Shankar's devoted to getting to do an adaptation of Berserk.
Is that a Sega?
Oh.
No, I'm saying he won't do a Sega thing because he's all dedicated to doing fucking Berserk.
I would just cast him into the unwinnable situation of making a Shenmue adaptation.
That'd be the worst one.
He now has to write the whole story that they never did. Yu Suzuki's like, hey, that's not how it would have gone, and everyone's like, okay, bro.
Okay, whatever. Like, what? He got the plot points of fucking Shenmue 18 wrong. Maybe at some point you should have truncated that shit a little bit.
One thing on the dance pad before we move on from that. I was genuinely disappointed when they revealed that he is doing DDR and not making a really cringy video for online.
Oh, you thought
I thought that was early YouTube and him just getting in there and please, that's what Dante should be doing.
That would have been really funny.
As a DDR person, I figured out really quick it was just DDR, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. I thought it was way funnier that he was at some weird karaoke thing. We haven't really brought up the licensed music, like Last Resort being blared over a motorcycle chase.
It's a cool song. That's all that he cared about.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. At this point, I have begun to tune out needle drops in things because it's yes, James Gunn ruined everything forever. There will be needle drops.
Remember when they played Come My Lady?
That was the most
because it was 14 seconds long.
Yeah.
And they a couple times, that DDR scene with Dante, a couple times they have a scene that's not even 20 seconds that is so disconnected from the rest, and a lot of the times ends the episode. And all of these episodes are really close to 30 minutes. I don't know why they do that. It just seems so strange to me.
With the music drops in this, I honestly felt like they kind of dropped the ball. I thought that there would be more of them and that they would be better placed and that they would at least use Rollin' for a cool scene at the end.
I mean, Rollin' would have made way more sense for the motorcycle chase, to be perfectly honest. Last Resort did not make a whole lot of sense there at all.
I like Awazi's music choices, but they just used them incorrectly. And honestly, they should have leaned in more to it and got more licensed music if that was their plan.
Yeah, probably.
But I basically, because of the nature of this creature, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I basically said everything I wanted to, other than, we remarked earlier, it's really weird that the goon squad of enemies is just 3D.
Yeah, they're just 3D.
It's so strange. It looks so bad.
Yeah, they're not good 3D.
Standing there.
Yeah, no, it reminds me a lot of seasons of Baki, where in certain shots the characters would just become CG to fight.
Yeah.
Well, that's the part of the animating that's hard.
And it looks
they
worse
do-
than that even.
Yeah, because they do it for them just standing there and talking. Like, it's not for their epic fights. It's just this awkward angle of their 3D model that seems like,
They even did it for Nilo Angel just to talk. It's like, guys, he's the big tease for next season. Why does he look like that? Why does Dante's Devil Trigger look like that?
Yeah, Dante's Devil Trigger in this is so dripless. They could have picked anyone from 3 and it would have been better.
But those are licensed from Atlas.
That's true.
They didn't want to do that.
They were designed by...
they were done by the artist, but I
Kaneko.
thought it was just like a contract thing where it's like, yeah, here, okay, I did them.
Yeah, at very least, they have that design done by him. So every time they roll it out, I think they have to credit him properly.
They credit him and Atlas every time.
Wow.
It's like a weird, smooth version of DMC5 Devil Trigger.
It's honestly, I think, closest to DMC2 Devil Trigger because it has the spiked up white hair and the weird little hat around it. But it does have some 5 elements too.
2s is kind of close to 5s also, I think.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any things they wanted to get into before we wrap this?
I really, really am upset by them just not understanding. The whole idea of Devil May Cry 3 is it's about Dante and Lady's families. They decide to take all of that out. Every little inch of it, which it's crazy. It's like the whole point is Lady learns that humans and devils aren't that different because she learns that her father is this evil monster and that Dante can in fact cry. Like, there is an emotional substance to that. That's what the entire title of the game is about. And they just completely dropped it. They just like, oh, that doesn't matter. Who cares?
Which is weird because they try to do this like reversion of the story with White Rabbit, but because the only part of his backstory we get is isolated in the backstory dimension with the fucking Owl House art style, and it's also kind of confused and stupid, even different from that, like even separated from that. Like, it doesn't land at all, but it feels like the intention, like, well, obviously there was an intention to have him parallel Lady's backstory because they were in the same episode. But then Lady's backstory isn't really, like, Lady's backstory is pretty different, and it just doesn't work at all. I feel like there's the potential for the, like, hey, I'm a human and my family was these demons. I hate humanity because of this shit they did to us. But then they fail the execution in every conceivable way.
So, you're so scared about home security, you blew your wife's face off. What now?
Yeah, it does read as that much more of that story, whereas the original Arkham story is, no, my entire thing was a farce. It was all a big plan. I conceived Lady is part of my plan.
Yep.
It's so much more interesting and also has the reason for Lady hates her name and doesn't want to be called by that and goes by Lady by the end of this show, by the end of the game. It's instead in this, it's just like, it's what Dante calls her. Okay. Wait, did you miss every single possible thing you could?
And okay, so Dante has to stop the White Rabbit from breaking the barrier between Makai and Earth, so demons don't get through and kill people. But the military can still conquer the demon world. Like, this seems to have that streaming show problem a lot, where it's like, well, we have to give the villain like a sympathetic motivation. But we went too far and now they're like kind of right, so now we have to also make them Hitler.
Yep.
It's great.
But yeah, the reason he didn't want the worlds actually connected, the vice president, is because he just wanted to be able to go there and, steal everything and not have to worry about any larger scale invasion. But
and also he's a religious fanatic who, I guess, is he gonna fucking be Sanctus? Is that where they're going with this?
Probably. They put the Order of Sword imagery in the opening, but at the same time, that wouldn't be Sanctus at all because he's supposed to worship Sparta.
Well, they'll change it to just being God. They'll do the most boring thing possible.
Right?
I think this might be the first time I've seen a video game related product and thought, oh God, why did you make this political?
I was more like, if you were gonna make it, I would argue that they didn't. I would argue that Adi Shankar is one of those people who are like, if I have this in my story, it's a big boy story. And it's like, does it mean anything? No.
I need to say something profound and current. Let's look in my drawer of dusty hack bullshit. Dunking on the W administration. Classic.
It's like, well, I agree, but you also seem to be one of those guys who are like, well, the problem was they didn't follow proper decorum. Not what they did was evil. Do you think Lucy is going to show up again in season 2? Because she was in this one, wasn't she?
Yeah, they put her in one shot, which was like, what are you doing?
Well, she's a demon hunter. She's from that clan.
Well,
so she better be in next season.
They brought in the
brought in
bad guy.
The bad guy. So maybe
yeah, they did.
Maybe they'll actually give her a real backstory, and she'll have to be a better character than Lady.
Or even,
which is upsetting.
Or even herself in her own game. Because, oh man, Devil May Cry 2 has some problems.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying even Devil May Cry 2's aborted nightmare, not existing story is way better than what this achieves. As far as the action goes, I think it's really rough that basically all the cool stuff stops happening after episode 3. Like, episode 3 has the motorcycle chase, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We do the air diving sequence in episode 4 or so, and that's all right. Yeah. But everything else,
I really
like
the parachute thing. But yeah, no, like a lot of the fights are just bad.
Yeah, technically, episode 5 is really the one that's about the skydiving.
Okay, 5.
The Rudra fight. Yeah, but yeah, it's split between them.
Yeah, I don't really get why this got stuck in having kinda rough looking fights with CG monsters. And then Castlevania Netflix had the fucking Sakuga unloading for the world's least emotionally invested conflicts over in Nocturne season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just like I feel like you did like that should have been the one that had all the CGI bullshit and you put that money over here. But then again, maybe that like the first half of Nocturne looked rough as shit, so maybe the second half of this will look good.
Yeah, they're just saving all the good stuff for then, because then they can actually have real characters people care about, like Virgil. Someone who should have been in the adaptation of Devil May Cry 3.
Yeah, you think he might be a load-bearing character?
I think he might be. I think he might.
Yeah, you might have done something with the characters in Devil May Cry instead of all this other random horse shit you wanted to do instead.
Well, like it pisses me off because you're gonna do the thing where he got separated and was raised in the demon world. So you're doing you literally invented a surrogate Virgil who also throws blade beams to be the fucking protagonist of your first season, so you couldn't just start with the shit people wanted.
Yeah, because it makes our version more interesting because we have a new original character who's the antagonist. And the twist is he's not a demon. Did you see that coming?
And the twist is that he's a flimsy caricature of the actual villain people would have wanted, who you will be doing immediately after.
And no, I didn't see that twist coming because he has a weird rabbit head and going, oh, wait, it's a mask he sewed on is some horse shit.
Oh, it is. But I will say I saw it coming.
Yeah, as soon as they shot him with the anti-demon bullet in episode 2 and it didn't work, it's like, oh, he's a human then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he's pumping himself with demon blood, so that should have worked. Just so we're clear.
I know. It's insane. They're like the demon blood keeps him alive. It gives him the healing ability and it makes him super powerful, and that's how he can move so fast. And I'm like, then why didn't the bullet work?
Did they work on Dante?
Yeah, but he healed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some fucking Xenoblade 1 logic, I guess.
I wish this had a vision. Anyway, we sincerely need to wrap this.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't Dante have Ebony and Ivory?
I don't know.
He will in season 2. The teaser picture already has him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're gonna have to introduce whatever the fuck that character's name is that I don't remember right now.
They also didn't bother even talking about his sword at all or connecting that to his devil trigger at all.
Like he just has that. What the fuck?
Yeah. I don't.
Do you think that it's gonna that Force Edge is gonna turn into Sparta in the
It did that this
second season?
Yeah, it did that this season.
Oh, yeah, right. It did do that this season.
Next season, they'll be like the rebellion turned into Sparta. And I'm like, what?
Do you think they'll do the thing from DMC 5 where it becomes Demon Sword Dante in season 2? Probably won't, because all this shit was written before DMC 5 was even out.
How long do you think the held shot on the white lawn chair is going to be when Virgil shows back up for season 2?
I hope it was made recently enough for that to happen.
That better happen.
They have to add it in post in CG.
Yes.
Them freezing Dante at the end of this season is the most absurd shit in the entire show.
The ending to this show being a Surf Dracula is so terrible. It's just the worst.
It's absolutely hilarious to me that they're like, and then we froze Dante so that way the next season takes place, ?
Whenever we want, but not too far later because we still want Lady.
And this bad guy. Actually, her name in the next season is Woman.
Yeah, it's going to be like 6 months so they can set up a different status quo and then not have to fucking show it actually be happening. They have to set up the Doom 2016 demon energy plants in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gentlemen, we've said a lot of words. It's time we do our summary reviews and score all the way up to and including 10 out of 10. We're going to start our summary reviews with Dr. Aggro. Dr. Aggro, score of 0 to 10 and your summary review.
The Devil May Cry, the Netflix series, is weird and ham-fisted and kind of bad in these odd, bulbous ways, but there's honestly a lot of cool sequences in it. I laughed at a bunch of the lines. There's some neat character designs that maybe shouldn't have been completely different from the thing they're based on. But if you don't care, it's really not all that bad. I'd give it like a 6.
Bob?
Yeah, the show isn't good, and it doesn't really achieve anything I want from a Devil May Cry show, but it's not terrible. So I guess I'll set it at a 5. It's like super middle of the road if you're just looking for some generic demon shooting. I guess you could do worse.
Chris Wolfhart?
Yeah, I didn't hate it. Like, the worst it got was me wishing I had the bell you ring when a historical inaccuracy is on screen. I'm just mashing it every time they show anything to fucking do with Lady's backstory at all, even a little. But if you can somehow... First of all, if you just don't give a shit about Devil May Cry story at all, which there are people who do that, one of them wrote this. You can do worse. It's probably the best Netflix thing that's related to Capcom. And it's better than half, at least, of Castlevania Netflix. So I'll give it a 5.
DMC Netflix, generally inoffensive, but I find that highlights of the show aren't really truly remarkable or fascinating to me, at very least. I really wish there was better fleshed out characters with arcs that felt good. I do not believe trying to do the Parallels backstory episode should be a replacement for having good character development and interactions. I don't think Dante and Lady's chemistry has ever been this bad before. I'm going to give it a 4. I don't genuinely hate it. I just don't think it's good. That brings the average score to a 5 from each of us. Total amount of points of 20. That is definitely scored well above many other video game adaptations we have reviewed, which is the number one point we need to make here. Despite everything that was said, thank God we didn't watch the Monster Hunter series again, featuring Dante this time. The executive producers for this month's GigaBoots videos are Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, Cooper Tank, BN12, Rado, and Virvarm. Thank you very much to our executive producers, and also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or a normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.